all of that stuff happened for a reason. It made me the leader I am today. And it gave me a very unique perspective. And I'll never forget what it's like to struggle. I'll never forget what it's like to feel like maybe you're not cut out for this. Maybe, you should just stick to being an employee and just living paycheck to paycheck. Like I had a lot of limiting beliefs in those early years. Yeah. But again, when you look at your life in reverse, you're like, all happened for a reason. And I'm grateful for it.
I remember you telling me a story about how you and your wife would wait tables and work at restaurants, tips, and you would use the money that you were working to go build your network marketing business. I want to share my screen really quick, guys. John, why don't you talk to people about this photo that you posted a couple days ago and just fill people in on what this photo is all about.
Oh, hashtag ballin'. Yeah, I mean, this was our first apartment. I want to say, this is a long time ago, man. I'm really aging myself, but I was living at home with my mom when I got involved in network marketing, right? My mom and dad. And then that first company got shut down, just like our last company got shut down, right? But it got shut down and I was like, what's next? Like, I don't want to go back to just like being an employee living paycheck to paycheck. Like I want to build something. We actually spent more money. I spent more money than I made in that first company. So did Nadya, but we both met in that company, just like I met you in the last one, right? But, we ended up in Denver, Colorado. We went out there to work with Michelle Barnes and some other leaders out there, and then they shut the office down. So they shut the office down in Maryland. They shut the office down in Indiana, where Nadya was living at the time. She's from Russia, so she was a foreign exchange student in Indiana, moves to Maryland. So all these offices are getting shut down. I remember saying, oh, this is a bunch of old people using the internet. I'm not interested in that. I literally remember saying that. That was my objection. And then unfortunately, my father passed away. And a month later, Nadya got pregnant. We're 22, not married, living in Denver. And I'm just like, you know what, if I'm going to have a baby, I need to go get a real job. Couldn't find a job because I dropped out of community college in Colorado. So we moved back to Maryland. At first, I'm living back with my mom. And then we find that apartment. That was our first apartment at like 23 years old. I'm not sure if that picture was taken before she had Dylan or right after. But that was our first apartment. And that's where we got started with raising our family. So it's kind of crazy.
I just think it's funny how sometimes people, you'll see it in your chat. You probably experience it in your companies too. People, something happens in their company and they're like, this is terrible. This is so bad. How do we break through this? It's like challenges happen in companies. And then people think, well, the narrative I always use is, so is this the thing? Like, is this the challenge? This one is the one that's so big that when you are a grandparent and your kid's like, why can't you take us to Disney? And you're like, well, that one time that product didn't perform as much as we thought it would. That just was the reason that I was not able to make things work in my life. And that's why I can't afford to fly you to Disney World with my family. It's like, get the hell out of here. And you're a great testament to that. So the question I want to ask you is that when we parted ways from that company and then you decided to get back into a new business, what was kind of that pivotal moment, that turning point where you thought, okay, me and Nadya need to do things different. And we have to have a strategy that makes sense today in, the new social media age.
I learned a lot about what to do and a lot about what not to do and how to not be a jackass leader, basically, because there was a lot of leaders there that had massive egos. And I'm sure we've all heard your ego ain't your amigo, right? For me, because we were always the redheaded stepchild in like every company that we were in, you just realize very quickly, like there's a lot of leaders out there that are very self-motivated, disciplined, people like yourself, right? You're go-getters, you're the ambitious types. So guess what? We still want a partner. We still want a mentor. We still want someone that we know is like got our back. So I actually became a better leader because I always had terrible upline leadership, if that makes sense. Outside of my first company, I had a great upline. I really did. That's where I learned a lot about myself and how to basically get over my own excuses. She would always say, you can make money or make excuses, but you can't do both. Building offline, doing PBRs every night, private business receptions. We would do home meetings at 6:30 and 8:30. Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night. We do a Friday night leadership, a Saturday training. Then we do meetings also on the weekends, on the hour on Saturday and Sunday. So we literally worked 7 days a week. We were out every single night doing meetings for years and years. 5 years. In 5 years, I squeezed about 40 meetings, 40 years worth of meetings into 5 years. Literally 2 meetings every night. Nadya did 2 meetings every night. And I live in Maryland. Bro, we were in Pennsylvania, Virginia, parts of the East Coast that like I had never heard of. We're in Amish country building. We're in the middle of podunk towns. I'm in parts of West Virginia that like literally I would be okay with never returning to. So we're building, grinding, growing our businesses. And after 7 years, we had no one on our team making $1,000 a month, not one person.
Oh my goodness.
And we were regional vice presidents. We were at the second highest rank in the company. Now we were making money, but we had this broke ass team. And I'm like, this is not what I signed up for. Like I had such bad MLM PTSD from that company. And I was like, I'm either giving up network marketing or I'm going to find a way to build it from home. And of course, building it from home led me down the path of using the internet, using social media. I recruited my first person, by the way, off the internet, off social media from MySpace in 2006.
Whoa.
So I'm just way back in the early years of social media, I started using it, but I didn't get serious until 2013. 2013, I left that company, which was a big decision. That was probably the hardest business decision we ever made and one of the best. It was like leaving the mafia and a public divorce, like all at one time. It was crazy. And we got sued, by the way. So when people tell me their full story and their struggles and all this, I'm like, I don't want to be like, let me one up you. But when you hear my story, you're like, oh, dude, how did you keep going? And I don't know, to be honest. I just think that the advantage that we had, the genius thing that we did is we kept going because there was nothing else that I wanted to do. Yeah. So we saw that there was a problem with building offline, which is fine when you don't have kids. But when you have a family and you're in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, like at some point you're like, all right, I want to work smarter. And that was when we started really paying attention to specifically Facebook. And then eventually we created this ATM system in 2015. And by the way, let me be clear. There's nothing wrong with doing the offline thing. But if that's the only way you grow your business, by doing Zooms 24/7, three-way calls, in-person events, you're just not going to attract the majority of people that truly want a part-time income from their phone. And it really is in my opinion, in 20 plus years, it's the most duplicatable way to build an online business from an exposure standpoint. It's not the end all be all. There's other moving parts, of course, but it's the most basic, most simple thing to teach someone like, hey, you got someone that's interested, add them to a group, tag them in a video, and then send them a message on Facebook like, hey, once you accept the invite, I'll tag you in the video that explains our business so you can really automate at least the exposure process.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you were talking about how the things that you've experienced, like, and I would agree, I would honestly agree. Like I've gone through challenges as well, but like I haven't been in the industry as long as you. I haven't been in places like that where I had a baby. My wife is pregnant. And it's like, okay, I have to figure out how to make things work. And I remember too, being in a position where I'd always go to meetings. I remember one time I had a team that was growing in Czech Republic, and it was a team of guys that were like 17 years old. And I'm like 22. And I flew out to Czech Republic for 2 weeks, and I knew no one out there in Czech Republic. And I was in a car touring Czech Republic, Slovakia. And the whole time we were out there, we would do drives like from Czech all the way to Slovakia, these places, like 10-hour drives. And I had no Wi-Fi, no service. And one of the guys, they had no Wi-Fi, and they didn't have a GPS on their phones. They had this like big, like MapQuest style box in the middle of their car that they had to plug in, and it stopped working. So for like 15 hours, I'm lost in Eastern Europe with no Wi-Fi. And luckily I brought a bunch of books, and these guys are like 17 years old, and I'm staying at random people's houses with their parents. And like one guy had like a tree house, and like, it was just crazy. I'm like, where in the hell am I right now in the world? And it's a cool story without a doubt. But here's the thing, because of how we were building that business, within 4 months, that whole team basically fizzled out. And so I'm sitting there going, I just wasted all my time and money. You know what I mean? What the heck am I doing here? And so I absolutely agree that what you guys have done is very unique and very different. And I want to kind of have you kind of get more into the details and the nitty gritty. So like, you knew that the idea of ATM was really unique. It could add a lot of value. How, like, if you right now sponsor a new person in your business, if you have someone develop and grow and sign them up, and like, can you walk through like how your process actually is, like the actual secret sauce of your ATM system with your organization?
Yeah, it is funny because even my own leaders, people that I've been coaching for years that are in other companies, it's amazing how we overcomplicate it. And then when people watch one of my basic trainings, they're like, dude, that's all you do? I'm like, yeah. They're like, I need to get back to basics. I'm like, yes, you do. You're getting too creative. And let me just give you an example. Let's say I connect with someone and they're like, hey, I want to take a look at your product, your business, whatever. I'm like, okay, great. The next step is I'm going to add you to a group and I'm going to tag you in a video. Now, of course, there's a little bit of a conversation, right? Like, oh, that's cool. What's got you open? What are you looking to accomplish? What would your goals be? I mean, you still want to have conversations with people. You don't want to have commission breath, right? You don't have commission breath. You don't want to treat people like a number, but it is a numbers game.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. And I don't want to beg and convince anybody, but if they're open, we're having a conversation. They're like, hey, what's the company? What's the product? What's this? What's that? How's it work? What's the comp plan? I'm like, hey, the next step is I'm going to add you to the group. I'm going to tag you in a video that explains that very thing. And here's the beauty. All you have to do is what I'm doing with you right now. I add people to these groups. I tag them in the testimonials. I tag them in the videos. And then I have a conversation on Messenger answering questions. But more importantly, you want to put them in a chat, because let's say you follow up with someone within 24 hours. Now, I don't ask for permission. I'm not saying, hey, is it okay if I introduce you to some other leaders or experts on the team? No, I'm just letting them know that's the next step. So I'm not doing it without telling them, but I'm definitely not asking for permission. Yeah. So I'm saying, hey, tomorrow when I follow up with you, I'm going to introduce you to some other leaders on the team for two reasons. One, I want you to hear their story, what their experience has been like. Number two, I want you to see the system in action. And this is all I do. I create curiosity, create conversations. I add people to the groups, tag them in the videos. Next day or within a day or two, I follow up and I introduce them to other people to get their questions answered. That's it.
And from that system that you've developed, you're not having to sit on, long Zooms for hours and hours and hours. You're not having to drive all the way to Amishville, right? You don't have to go to random spots. And then when
or the Czech Republic with no Wi-Fi,
yeah.
MapQuest boxes.
Yeah, or the Czech Republic with no Wi-Fi. So here's the other piece that, someone like you that's been in the game as long as you have, or like, I don't know, I guess I'd say someone like myself is going to think this is like a no shit question, but there's people in our community I know for sure that are not at the 500 rank yet. And they go, well, John, you make it sound so easy, but I did that with someone and they said no, right? And in my mind, like, I think, okay, you did that with how many people? 2, 3, 5? And so can you explain to them, like, one, if guys, from what he just said, the notes in my mind, because I do have some stuff right here that I'm trying to make sure I take down. One is he doesn't ask people to put him in chats with his upline or his crossline. He's not asking permission, right? He's just doing it, right? I'm adding you to a group. I'm tagging you in this post. And the other thing that he said that I would really remember is that he said, all you would do is what I'm doing with you right now. Mm-hmm. So that's called a loop, if you guys don't know, because what every prospect is thinking in this industry is, can I do what you're doing? Light bulb moment, right? They go, oh crap. Can I do what he just did? Well, all he did is this. And so that the simple part is, it is that simple. So what do you say, John, with people in your company, if they go, well, John, I'm doing that, but it's not working. Like I did that with 1 or 2 people and they said no, or they said not right now, or they said maybe later. How do you express to them like that this is a numbers game and they need to develop the skills as well?
I think this will be really encouraging for all of you, is that number one, it took me 7 years to fire my boss and create a full-time income. 7 years. This is not get rich quick. It's get rich eventually. And it took me 16 years to finally crack 7 figures in a year. So, it takes time. Like, you're probably going to suck at a lot of the things that you're learning because you're new to it.
Yeah.
Embrace the suck. Like, everybody sucks at first. And if you don't suck at marketing, prospecting, closing, following up, team building, you're like a unicorn. It's very rare. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how much money you make your first year, your first 3 years, your first 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, thank God I didn't give up in those first 7 years after I had some very difficult situations. I had some really, tough times. In fact, the one company I was with for 7 years, like I said, they came after us. Like, they literally sued us and we countersued, and it was just nasty and it was toxic. All of that made me a stronger leader. And, it's like you said, like, well, I did what he's saying and I didn't sign anybody up. Well, maybe they don't believe in you yet. Maybe you haven't talked to enough people yet. Maybe they'll join you, but it'll be like 3 years from now. Like, you're always planting seeds. You're always getting better. Don't be bitter, get better, right? Most of the people that I talked to in the early years, in the early days, and most of the people on my team are not in my team today. Like, think about this. This is like a crazy stat that it might discourage some of you, might encourage you, but I'm just going to keep it real. I've been with the same company I've been with for 7 years. And 99% of the people that are in my business today, I did not know them in 2015 when I joined the company. So that means from 2001 to 2015. That's 14 years, 14 years of humans that I worked with, I mentored, I prospected, I recruited, all the things. Not any of those people are in my business today. 99% of the people that are in my business today, I did not know them when I joined the company I'm in. So wow. Even if your entire warm market says no, and none of them ever join you, who cares? There's billions of people out there that you're going to meet and connect with. And at the end of the day, you're going to get better over time. So like I said, you don't want to treat people like a number, but you should literally, your goal should be to literally ATM 100 people, 200 people, 500 people as quickly as possible to figure out the process and get really familiar with the system, the questions, the objections. And even again, this isn't going to happen to you, by the way, but even if you do have 500 people in a row tell you no, believe me when I tell you, you will be much better on 501 than you were on 101, 201, or number one. Does that make sense? So you're just going to have to get better. Some people say, oh, you got to be consistent. You got to be consistent. Yeah, but you also need to consistently improve. If you just consistently do the same stuff that isn't working, that's called the definition of insanity. Expecting a different result from doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
So you have to consistently improve and pay attention to like, what are people saying no to? What are people responding to? What aren't people responding to? You actually learn more from your mistakes. And those lessons are important. So be okay with, hey, I talked to 5 people, 10 people, 20 people. They said it was a scam. They said this, they said that. Maybe those people are just, negative Nancy's, rotten apples, who knows? But maybe you need to improve your language. Maybe you need to posture up a little bit. But the only way that happens, it's not through reading books and watching Zooms like this. It's through action, action, action. That's the most important thing. A lot of us spend time learning. At some point, you got to remove the L.
It's funny you say that. When I think of even the organizations that I've built over the last 4 years with Cameron, my business partner, it really is as a spectrum, and it's almost like a wave in the sense that we've had people come into our business. They come in, they're super excited, they're fired up, they follow the systems, and they start building and see results. And then a lot of the times what happens is they bring in new leaders who also are fired up. And then sometimes those people that originally came in, they leave. Maybe they go to another company. Maybe they just are burnt out. Maybe they're active, but they don't do anything anymore.
And maybe sometimes they come back.
Yeah. It's not like we enrolled this person, they stayed, and they led to all these people who all stayed. It's a spectrum of some people stay, some people leave, but it's always leading to a new firecracker that explodes. And as long as you do the consistent work, you're going to keep getting firecrackers. And that's what developed the income for us. These firecrackers over and over from falling to steps, which is similar to what you mentioned.
Well, here's what's funny too. Like, how many of us would be excited if I was in your one line and Darik was in your other line? How many of us would be excited? So the truth is, you would love this business if you had that structure. If Darik was down one line, I'm down the other, you'd be so paid. You'd be so done. But the truth is, if you're like, oh, well, I'll be fired up when that happens, then you don't get it, because that ain't happening if you don't get fired up now. And the fact of the matter is, most of us need to deserve it.
Yeah.
We just need to deserve it. And, sometimes it's kind of a bad thing. Like, I'm actually grateful it took me 7 years to crack a 6-figure income, because it definitely gives you a different perspective and a level of gratitude that if someone has quick success, it can actually backfire sometimes because they think that that's normal. They think it's because of them. They think they're the reason for all their success. They think it's supposed to grow quickly, and it's not. Traditional business, this was something I learned in my first year of network marketing, which I never learned about business before. It's fascinating. They don't teach you about this stuff in school, at least not like regular school, right?
Yeah.
It takes 3 to 5 years to turn a profit in traditional businesses, 3 to 5 years. And 90% of them go out of business before that happens.
It's wild.
So when you start thinking like an entrepreneur, you go, wow, the fact that I don't have the overhead, the risk, like the only network marketing failures are network marketing quitters. It's not like you go out of business. Now you might say, well, but John, your company went out of business. Yeah, but I just moved on to another company and I built it bigger, faster, stronger, and made way more money than I ever did anywhere else. I didn't decide to let that disappointment, that company going out of business, to stop me. And quite honestly, I was planning on not going all in with the next company. I was just going to build my personal brand, monetize, coach, like do all these different things, affiliate marketing, like all these things. And then the business ended up taking on a life of its own. And I had people on my team making more money than me. And I'm like, what the heck is happening here? Maybe I should pay attention to this.
Yes.
So we all have our own journey, our own path. But man, when you get this system dialed in and you get really good at marketing, creating content, figuring out like, who do I want to attract? How do I want to show up on social media? I don't want to be an infomercial. I don't want to be a Spamela Anderson. I got that from Fraser Brooks, right? Like I want to be a person of value. I want to be a go-giver. I would highly recommend the book Go Giver. If you've never read it, never heard of that book, because when you start showing up as a person of value, like Darik is one of the sharpest dudes I know. Yes, he's made a lot of money. Yeah, he's had a lot of success, but that's a direct correlation to the value he brings and the amount of personal development and personal growth that he's done, the sacrifice, the discipline. Like, all of this stuff didn't happen by accident. You have to get good at these things. You have to work on you. And the marketing piece, I got so excited about the marketing side of things, because most network marketing companies teach you nothing about marketing. They teach you how to network spam, network sell, network pitch, right? Like they teach all the sales stuff.
Sure.
And sales are great. Sales are just conversations, but marketing is my favorite, because then you start attracting people to you. It's not going to happen overnight, but when you get to the point where you have so many people reaching out to you, following you, friend requesting you, thanking you, that's when you know you're on the right path.
We all go through crap in business and network marketing, right? But understand, literally the decision to go achieve a $10,000 a month or a 7-figure a year rank, whatever, inherently means you have to have BS happen. Like if you don't go, I want to have a 6-pack, but I do want to do no work. It's like, no, to get the thing, it is literally a byproduct. You cannot have the thing without the other. That is why the thing is the thing. If the thing didn't have it, you literally wouldn't value it. So you're going, oh, I want to hit 6 figures a year in this industry. What you're really saying is, okay, I want to go through a ton of bull crap and go through a lot of frustration, discomfort, anxiety, sometimes even depression, whatever it may come with it, so that I can then reach a point where I make $10,000 a month, right? It's a give and take. You do not get both. So when you look at John and you look at myself, the only difference is we've had our face in the mud longer and went, it's not so bad down here. I'm not going to stay here, but like, I'm not dead. Like, it's okay. I'm not working a job. Like, I might as well just understand that this isn't that bad. And some of you guys, you have your face and you're going, this is the worst thing ever. It's like, you can't be a victim, right? Because John has had companies fail him, but he didn't fail him. You see what I'm saying? Now, the other piece is when the business gets fun, I want you to listen to what he said. When you wake up in the morning, right? When you wake up in the morning, and from when you wake up, your phone is filled with just notifications, right? Then what happens is then you go, well, damn, like my business is like really moving. And now the work is not how do I find someone to talk to? It's who do I want to talk to? It's not how do I get my team to grow? It's who do I need to work with in my team? So It's like a train. At the beginning, the train, it's really hard to move. But once the train starts moving, you just coast with the train and it becomes really, really fun. John and I love doing this stuff. This is fun for us. This is not a job. We get to empower and serve all of you. So understand the hardest part in this industry, it's topsy-turvy. In a corporate America, the CEO probably has the most stress and the most frustration. In this industry, the bigger checks you get, the bigger your team gets, the more fun it becomes because you get to do stuff like this. Yep. So I just want you guys to really make sure you understand the things that John's saying. So, okay, the next thing I want to ask you, John, is when you have people in your team who the only thing they know about their social media is taking selfie pictures of their cats, and they've never built anything online. They have only, their grandma's pictures. They don't do anything with social media, right? And now you're wanting to develop them into people who can become someone where they get to a point where people are reaching out to them online. What strategies do you teach people who maybe go, well, I don't have a social media following. I don't have a lot of people reaching out to me. Obviously, they need to reach out, right? They need to be proactive.
Absolutely, yes.
But what skills do you develop with people so that they can develop a routine or disciplines or habits so they can start developing in somewhere where people start actually reaching out to them about what they do?
Yeah, it's such a good question. And it's tough because some people are naturally gifted like you. Me, we're probably a little better than most people when we first get started in something like this because, we're very outgoing. We love people. We love to be, out there connecting. And like I always tell people, friends first, marketer second, right? I want to make a friend. I want to connect with people. I want to be a mentor. I want to be, someone that offers consultation. I want to be a person of value. And it is funny because back in the day, like my top multi-million-dollar, upline earners, I didn't really know what they did every day. it was kind of a mystery, right? They would come to the training sometimes at our event, or they would be on the conference calls and, they'd be talking about what they're doing, but you didn't see it. Nowadays, it's so much easier. It's like, I wonder what Darik does. Maybe I should just like look at his social media. I wonder what John and Nadya do. Like, what does that mean? Attraction marketing, and how do you build a personal brand? How do you show up as a person of value? I wonder what they do. You could just look at our social media. It's not freaking rocket science. Just go to my Instagram, go to my Facebook, and you're gonna be like, oh, I see what he's talking about. You're not going to see me pitching my business. You're not going to see me pitching my product. Now, in my stories, I might talk about a little something, you know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I'm not even posting a lot of that stuff. A lot of times it's my virtual assistant posting it, or, I'm just taking something that someone else shared. Like they did a TikTok, they did a reel, and they're one of my leaders. And then I share that in my story, and I'm driving traffic to their stuff. So anyway, the point is, when it comes to marketing, creating content, I want you to write some things down. Number one, what are the things that you love talking about? What are you passionate about? What are your hobbies? What are the things you're into? You could also do a separate category for what are the things you're learning? What are the things that you've experienced? What are some of the struggles that you've overcome? You want to speak from a scar, not an open wound. I heard that from Chalene Johnson. So essentially, if you're like in the middle of a bankruptcy, you're probably not going to talk about bankruptcy. But if you've overcome bankruptcy, or like for me, I haven't drank alcohol in 14 years. Like, remember when I talked about squeezing 40 years of meetings, like home meeting presentations, into 5 years? I also squeezed a lifetime of partying into about 5 years. Like I was a good time half the time, the other half of the time, fist fights, getting arrested, blacking out. God only knows what drugs I was doing. I mean, it was horrible. And for me, I knew that drinking was holding me back. So I decided to quit. Now, Nadya can have a glass of wine. She's fine. She can have 2 glasses of wine. She's fine. Me, it's like, that's pre-gaming. You know what I'm saying? It's like 2 bottles is pre-gaming back when I was drinking. So for me, I decided like I wanted to be the most amazing father. And I knew I couldn't be a great leader and make millions and be hungover and drunk and like just all the bad. Like I would say, if someone on your team that you want to mentor, you want to be their leader, you can't get too familiar. You know what I'm saying? Like if they see you with a lampshade on your head, like one time, all credibility and respect out the window, because people remember you at your worst. So I quit drinking 14 years ago. That's something I can talk about because I overcame it. Now, that doesn't have to be your story. But my point is, when I talk about MLM PTSD, when I talk about some of our trials and tribulations, some of the struggles, I rode the struggle bus for a very long time. I also made a lot of money early on, in mortgages and sales. And, I invested in real estate. I bought high and I sold low. I lost $1 million in real estate. So like I can speak from my experiences and I could speak from some of the lessons, but then also before I had a lot of those experiences, like if I was brand new and I was 18 years old, and it's like, I don't have experiences. You could speak about other people's experiences. You could speak about what you're learning. You could literally, this is something I learned from Ray Higdon in the very early years when I started creating content, ILT, invest, learn, teach. So right now you're investing time into learning something. Take some freaking notes from this conversation, turn around and make a TikTok, turn around and do a story post, or, an IG reel, or go live, go do a 5-minute live every day for the next 21 days. Let me tell you something. You go live every day for just 5 minutes. And look, you can talk longer, but I know people are sometimes like, I don't know what to talk about for 25 minutes. Who said you got to do 25 minutes? Do a 2-minute live. Go live every day for the next 21 days for 2 minutes. You will figure out very quickly your voice, how you want to show up, who you want to attract. And think like this. I'm not here to sell you. I'm here to educate you. Education is the highest form of sales.
You don't need to be the expert. You need to be someone that's in the pursuit of expertise, right? Like you have to become a person of value. And so if you're like, I don't know what to post online, but you wake up in the morning, you wake up at 11 a.m., you eat some Doritos, you make some pancakes, and then you're sitting there and you're watching HBO by 12 p.m. and you're unemployed, you are not being a person of value. So like if John did the same stuff he's doing, but he was drinking the same way he was, he's not going to be able to influence people to the same level. So part of content is making a decision to be someone of value, to be someone that actually wants to develop certain skills and then double down on those skills. So when I hear that story, like for example, right now, every single one of you right now could whip out your phones, make a video on the next. I'm going to ask John a question. When I ask John this question, he's going to answer the question, right? All of you could record just his answer, or just do like a 5-second, 10-second recording of this call. And then after that recording, save it, right? Just save it. You don't need to post right now. But here's my question. Did any of you guys have to pay to be on this call? Did you guys have to pay any money to get on this call? No. So once that is recorded.
Wait, what?
I know, right? Exactly. So once that's recorded, you can then share on your stories, on your social media. I was able to get on a call and learn from millionaires who have shared their failures and their processes to build multi-million-dollar businesses. And I didn't have to pay a dime to get this secret access, to get this knowledge. And this is going to help me on my own journey to accomplish the goals that I want. And I just have so much gratitude that I can partner up with people that are all trying to pursue success in different areas of the world. Just want to share the gratitude that I have for my life right now, right? All of you could do that. So you have to think about it.
Can I just point something out there that you did that was really smart? You didn't say, hit me up if you want to get involved. Don't do that. Because all of a sudden it goes from value to, you're selling me something.
Yeah.
I see why you posted that. So I just want to point that out. You don't need to have a call to action like hit me up if you want the deets. If you're looking for mentorship, hit me up. No, don't do that, because then it devalues the post.
Yeah.
It takes away from it. It's actually better to talk about something and people are like, what do you mean? How does that work? They will ask the question, believe me. And if they're not asking the question, that's okay also. Just start paying attention to who's watching, who's engaging, and proactively reach out to them. And then you can pop the question. You can see if they're open. You should be doing that, but always think about that. Like, I know sometimes like you hear people like me, or you hear someone like Darik say something and it's like, oh, okay. And then you kind of take it and make it your own. But what you don't realize is sometimes it can actually devalue your content or devalue that value that you're trying to give someone by trying to sell someone very quickly. Like it's like you're coming on too strong too soon. How many of us remember that? Maybe some of you are still dating, actually. Would you agree if you see someone that's really good looking and you're attracted to them, and then all of a sudden they come on too strong, they seem too needy or desperate? You're like, I don't know what's wrong with you, but all of a sudden you're not attractive anymore. That's literally this business.